Will you take care of it, please? 'Cause it's the only one. Well, it'll take me a lifetime, old man, to undo what you done. Yeah, to undo what.
And welcome back to the Corner of Gray Street podcast. You know, I'm Bruce. I'm joined by Nolan, but Nolan, this time we have a very special guest, Mr. Rodrigo Simas. Rodrigo actually is an absurdly talented photographer. You've seen his photos plastered everywhere. If you follow any sort of DMV social media, from probably our account to Gorge Crew to the main Dave Matthews Band fan page, you have seen his photography everywhere. So you are well aware of, you should be well aware of who he is. And if not, you do know who he is without knowing who he is. But at the same time, he is the official content creator and runs a social media for the band as well. So we have a ton to talk about with him today.
Yes, welcome Rodrigo, joining us all the way from Portugal, where you just moved. How has everything been going with that move from Brazil to Portugal?
It's been fun. We've been here for almost 10 days now, and it's been excited. It's excited to move from one continent to another. It's busy, but it's cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, excited. That's one way to put it. That long of a move. Whew. We moved like 10 minutes away, and oh man, that was
It was
really
man, it was easier than I thought it would be. Really, we traveled with 12 big cases, 2 cats, a kid, more like our hand case. And anyway, it was a big trip, and I'm alive. So yeah, everything worked.
Yeah, it's great. Amen to that.
Yeah.
You know, really, first off, we've asked how you are, what you've been up to lately over the past year. Last time you saw the band, even. What have you been up to?
So I do a bunch of different stuff back in Brazil. So I'm a graphic designer. So I work as a freelancer in Brazil as well, doing a bunch of design work for different agencies. I work as a producer for 3 or 4 different promoters in Brazil. So I work a lot with concert promotions and concert production. So we are planning for the whole 2022 now. So it was a really busy year because I kept my DMB social media and other stuff that I do for them. That kept us busy during most of the pandemic with all the shows that we put on the internet. And anyway, I kept busy as much or more than any other year. The difference that I was not able to travel and do the photography work. My photography work was basically zero. But besides that, all my other kind of work that I do was like busy more than ever, maybe. So yeah.
Oh wow,
That's good. I feel like that was the case with a lot of people. Different challenges in the past year, and people getting creative about how can we bring content to the fans and make it feel like things are kind of normal, even though it was very far from normal. I know I experienced that a lot with my job. So great job. And, thanks for bringing us DMB in a year without live concerts. It was a good time. The drive-ins last summer.
The driving was pretty cool,
awesome.
Right?
Yeah. All right. Well, let's just start at the beginning for you. Can you just tell us about your life journey so far up to this point and kind of how you got into where you are now?
Has a DMB fan or has a DMB related stuff?
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
Well,
how you got into photography and social media and all that stuff. And
yeah, well, I never planned anything about it. It was just it just happened in my life. I was basically, as I told before, I am a graphic designer. I always worked as a graphic designer, art director for 10 years now, 15 years or whatever. And I'm a big music fan, not only DMB, but I'm a music fan first. I'm a metalhead. I love metal and hard rock and all that stuff. So yeah. So I'm always been working back in Brazil with concert productions and promoters and blah blah blah. And or music magazines covering shows and, writing articles for magazines. And so I've been always, there was always like a professional hobby for myself was music related. Always. I always lived as a designer, like the design stuff paid my bills, but on the side, I was always working with music somehow. And all my productions, every show that I worked on in my life, I was always with my camera. And so I always documented the shows that I was working. And that I started to develop my eyes and develop techniques and whatever to have the best results. And I became a fan, a DMV fan back in '98 when they played in Brazil in a festival called Free Jazz Festival. It was before the Scroll the Streets tour, and they went there with Ben Harper for the first time in Brazil. That was the first tour they went. And as a metalhead and rock and roll and hard rock fan, I went there to see Ben Harper, not DMV. Ben Harper in the beginning, the first two or three albums, he was kind of a reggae version of Jimi Hendrix. It was kind of heavy. It was like, then he got more mellower, but in the beginning he was pretty rock and roll. So I went there to see him and drank every beer that I could drink. And by the end of his show, I was wasted and out of my mind. And a friend of mine told, hey, you should I was going back home. And he said, oh, stay here and watch the next band because you love them. And it was one of those moments, oh my God, Eureka moment, and it's like, oh yeah, that's my shit, And so after that day, next day I went to a record store and bought all their albums. Still hangover and still like, oh my God, what happened that night? And went there, bought all their studio albums, crashed under the table and before, and became a fan. So that was '98. And in 2 years, so by the end of 2000, I was such a hardcore fan that I was like, and because once you know Dave Matthews Band, you start downloading their shows and the bootlegs and all that stuff. And
oh yeah.
And being a metalhead and a hard rock fan in Brazil, I didn't know, like no other band would have shows for you to download and with different set lists. And like if you take a band like Iron Maiden, which I love, it's always the same set list. They start a tour, they play one set list, and the set list goes to the end of the tour. It's like a play, it's not like a show. It's like more like a musical, you know what I mean? So it's the same show. So I never experienced a band that plays every night a different gig. So for me, everything was new, and I became a huge fan. So by the end of 2000, I heard they were coming to Rock in Rio 2001. And I created a website, DM Brazil, to promote the band here and while they were coming to play, because nobody knew them. It was really, really a small band, a small fan base here. So I created the website, DM Brazil, and by pure luck, there was a girl that they brought together to Brazil called Simone, and she was Brazilian, and she lived in Charlottesville. She was working in a restaurant, a Brazilian food restaurant that Roy and Carter used to go a lot, and they became really close friends. So when they came to Brazil, I don't know why, they just said, oh, okay, let's bring Simone with us. So they brought her in, and because I was Brazilian and she knew because of internet, I don't remember which word was, like, I don't know if Orkut maybe, I don't know which one we were using at the time, but she became aware that I was building this website. So she invited me to go to the hotel and meet the guys in 2001, in January 2001, and to meet them and tell them that I was building this website in Brazil. So we exchanged contacts. I met everybody. I met Roy, I met Dave, I met everybody but on that day, and got contact with management. And from that day on, we kept in touch, not with the band, but kind of with management. And they invited me and said, oh, hey, anytime you want to come to the US to enjoy some shows, come and we can give you like backstage pass. You can say hi to us and all that stuff. So starting on 2003, I started to go to the US. to like get like one gig, 2 gigs or whatever, just to enjoy the show. And every time that I went there, I said, hey, the website's growing. We're doing a bunch of stuff there. And they were like, okay, cool. You know, like this Brazilian guys talking to us and saying, I could say anything that I want. I just said, hey, we are really doing it. And the website's growing and your fan base is growing. And we started in Brazil tribute bands for the Dave Matthews Band. So I had like 5 or 6 different tribute bands playing in Brazil every month. So that kept the band alive and the music alive in Brazil from 2001 to 2008. So they didn't come back to Brazil for 7 years. It's a long time for a band not to play in Brazil. So what kept them alive during this 7-year period was kind of not only the website, but the website was a big part of it, the website and the cover bands and all that stuff. So when they came back to Brazil in 2008, and I was going every year to the shows, like usually to Florida, but to Atlanta, to other gigs. And they saw that everything that I was telling them that I was doing here was real. So when they came, the shows were sold out and they were much bigger than they were in 2001. And then he said, okay, this guy is telling you everything that he told us is true. And then management hired me to do other stuff for other bands and for DMB. And then they came back in 2010 and they knew I liked to photograph. Oh, and during those almost 10 years that I was going to the shows, I always asked for Photopass. So I could take pictures for DMV Brazil, for the website in Brazil.
Smart.
But not thinking about anything, just to have original content for the website in Brazil, just to present something unique for the Brazilian fans. So we could have our own material, not getting pictures from whoever was the photographer by the time with the band. So I kept showing them my pictures and say, hey, I'm doing this. And I think they liked it. So when it came in 2010, they didn't bring a photographer for a tour. And they asked me if I could do it. And I said, yes. And from there on, that's what happened. But my first show stepping into any stage with any band was with Dave Matthews Band. I have done like 1,000 shows before, but with other bands and in the rail, not on stage. So my first show was with Dave Matthews Band in Rio in 2010 in a sold out show for like 15,000 people. And yeah, that was my trial by fire. And from there on, from there on, I stayed. That's basically it.
Oh, I mean, that's basically it. That's an incredible story. That is
cool.
awesome.
Cool
I mean,
you
answered so many of the questions that we had, but it's brought up a couple more. So, I mean, really, one of the questions that we had was, what was that big moment that you knew, hey, if I nail this and I shoot this show, perfectly, or I have XYZ photographs from this, so-and-so is going to be impressed and I'll be able to get a bigger gig or something like that. But it sounds like to me, that's not really the way it worked. You became friends with the band, like all those cool things. And then all of a sudden, you shoot a few shows and then bam, you're on stage with them. What was it? What was that moment like? How much of the show were you actually on the stage? And how much different was it from being like, there's the band to, hey, here's the band and there are the fans? That is, like you said, a sold out show.
Yeah, my memory is not the best memory ever. So, and that night was kind of a blur. You can figure out why. I was super nervous and I was green too because I never stepped on the stage, so I didn't know what to do basically. So there's a funny story about Daryl, who is the big G. He was the security guy for the band for years and years, and he was the security guy when I started. And he's a big friend of mine nowadays, but he was there that night. And I was going into the stage with kind of this, but white, which you never go on stage for any band dressing anything else but black. But I didn't have a clue, you know what I mean? I was just with my camera and the band asked me to shoot. I was going, okay, I'm going to the stage. What the fuck? So I just was climbing the stage and he stopped me and said, are you going to my stage dressed like this? Go back and try to find some black shirts, you know? So that's what I did. And, but think about, like, I was super nervous already, and I'm going to the stage and someone say, hey, stop here, right here, go change and come back, you know? So yeah, so I did it. And it was not only a show, it was a full South American tour. So after we did Rio, we did Sao Paulo, we traveled to Argentina. Always, like, my first shows were like real Trial by Fire, you know?
Wow.
And the Argentina show was the one that became a live tracks later on.
Yes.
It was amazing experience. But anyway, so it was a lot of stuff happening. It's more of a blur to me those days. But yeah, it was very special just to be, because the thing is, to shoot those bands, not only DMB, but any big band or small band, like, I think that to shoot any band or any artist, the artist, before being a good photographer, the artist needs to trust you. If he don't trust you, you can be the best photographer in the world, you're not in, you know? So they need, and not trust you for you don't screw anything, like if I go on stage and, you know, stumble in something. It's not that. It's something they have to trust you, that you're not doing anything, you can, there's a line that you can cross always, and they have to trust you, you're not crossing that line. So yeah, so for the band to let me be on the stage with them is more, for me, is more like a approval of that they trust me than that I'm a good photographer. You know what I mean? Because by that point, I was not a photographer at all. I never studied photography. I never, like, it was always like, as I said, like a professional hobby, but I never studied photography. I just have a camera and start, like, pointing, shoot. And I still do that nowadays. I don't have any kind of, I don't even have interest. That sounds bad to say, but I'm not a camera geek. I don't know anything about a camera, really, zero.
You wouldn't be able to tell, man. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I know.
So I have a good eye, and I know I have it. I have a good eye, and I'm really, as I am a graphic designer, I'm really fast and really good in post-production. So after I take the pictures, as soon as I have the image that I want on, you know, as soon as I have that frame, I can do pretty much what I want. So I just basically, on the concert that I shoot, I just basically try to get whatever I want to get. If I can get that on frame, I can turn that picture in anything that I want. You know, so that's how I work. You know, there are other, like, for example, Rene, who's a huge friend of mine. He knows like 1,000 times more photography than I. He's a photographer. He studied that, and he deserves the credits. And he, you know, he's a photographer, and his style is completely different than my style. If you compare if you take a show that I shoot and you take Rene's show, it's complete opposite styles. And it's great. It's even great for the band, because then the band has different styles of photography in their on tour. But we, like, I don't know shit, and Rene does know everything about photography, you know.
Yeah.
But I'm really good on the post-production stuff.
We sound.
Oh,
we sound
no, it looks like we're going to have to hire a
the
graphic designer here for the podcast, for our social media. It looks like Rodrigo is going to be the podcast.
Yeah. we sound similar, because I do. I'm a videographer, and I'm not as much into the technical stuff of it. I feel like I like the look, and I have a good eye for it, and I love editing, storytelling, all that stuff too. So I feel you.
Yeah, it's like a musician, you know. Once you, like, I play a little guitar, but just for fun. But once you really become a musician and you start to pay attention to whatever the guy is playing, sometimes it loses the magic. You know, there's a lot of people who start learning about music, and the simple music, it's not fun anymore, because you're just trying to figure out what they are doing. And in photography, for me, at the same time that I should be learning more stuff, because sometimes I feel I lack a little bit of the technical aspect of it. At the same time, I don't want to lose to be naive in that relation with the camera. You know what I mean? Just because it's for me, it's still magic. I just take the camera and do what I do, you know.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I like keep like overthinking about what I am doing, it might corrupt my work. You know what I mean? Does it make sense?
Yeah. No, I get that for sure. We'll circle back around to some more photography questions in a little bit. But first, I just wanted to like clarify. So you did your first show in 2010, and then you were there for that
professionally, really.
Professionally,
For the band.
And you do that tour, the South American tour, and then is there a conversation after that that's like, all right, like Rodrigo's our guy?
No.
You like, how did you end up coming back to like the US and doing those shows and full time?
I think the first year, like the year next, 2011, I told them, hey, I'm going to watch like 5 shows. I don't know. And they said, oh, you're coming, so you're going to shoot those shows. So I paid my flights. I was just there, and they hired me to do because I was going to be there. So it was like it was step by step, little steps. So the next year they already paid for my flights, and you know, so it was like every year was a growing and having more dates, and you know, showing better work. So I started to buy more equipment as well. So my pictures got better. There is a year from, I think from 2014 to 2015, you can see my work was like the quality of the work between 2 years was like astonishing. And that because I on the previous years, I got all the money that they paid me and invested in equipment. And because I was getting better, because well, you're doing more shows and you're getting more experience, but there's a year that I can see clearly that my pictures got better. I think it's between or 2013 to 2014 or 14 to 15, but it's like the jump of quality.
That's awesome. Have you noticed like a difference in like the fan base between like Portugal and Brazil, and then doing shows in the US? Like, it seems pretty intense. And like I've seen clips from the shows in Brazil, and it's like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm at like a soccer game.
It's a soccer game, yeah. Well, first of it all, you have to understand that for us in Brazil, or even in Europe, even here, you grow up, if you are a DMV fan, you grow up not thinking you ever see the band live, because it's, well, before 98, the band never played in Brazil, for example, and then they became like 3 more years and then 8 years without playing. So the chances are you're not going to see DMB live in your life, you know. And when they go to Brazil, they play like in 3 cities, 4 cities the most. So, and Brazil is huge. Brazil is like more than half USA. You know what I mean? So the chances are you're not going to see the band in your lifetime. So it's not like in the US that you can see them, you know, 50 times a year if you want to go to the full tour. You know what I mean? So, so for most of the fans here, it's a once in a lifetime chance to see the band. So people are dying. It's not a band that you watch like a couple, you know, 3 times a year, 4 times a year. It's really maybe your only chance to see in your lifetime. And it happens in Europe, you know, so people are super excited. That's the difference.
But it's how I wish fans would treat it here. Just understanding like, hey man, I mean, this could be your one in a lifetime or your last time in your life. I mean, you never know. And like, that's how I want Raleigh and Charlotte to be when that band comes back. Like, we didn't know when, you know, 2020 tour gets canceled and like all this stuff. You just don't know what shows are going to look like in the future and all this stuff. And like, that's how I'm going to be. I'm going to be bouncing around. I'm going to be chanting. I'm going to be, I'm so pumped. And
we'll treat it like a soccer game.
Yeah. I wanted very much to be in the first gig, man. I'm jealous I don't know who's doing that, but I'm jealous of whoever is doing it. I wanted to be in the first day, but
I'll take a couple of cool iPhone photos for you.
We'll send them your way.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
But speaking of, you know, how awesome those fans are. You know, it reminded me, and you reminded me because you mentioned when the band returned in 2008, you know, that was when it was without Leroy. And the fan tribute that occurred that night during the
That was
number
me.
41.
That was me.
Okay,
Yeah.
I was gonna ask that. Was that created by you?
Yeah.
And what was that like? You know, the looks in the 1 or 2 videos that are out there from the band's faces is incredible to see. But you know, kind of talk to us about that night and like what went into planning for that.
It was
and just
pretty.
the moment.
It was pretty emotional. I was shooting that show from the rail. I was not hired by the band, but they let me shoot that show from the rail. That night's kind of another blur for me, but so we just basically did it as a tribute. DMV Brazil, by that time in 2008, DMV Brazil had a lot of we could reach the majority of DMV fan base in Brazil, so everybody knew DMV Brazil and everybody went to the website, and you know, so we kind of organized it through the website, and everybody knew what to do, and that place is like only 4,000 people, so it was a small gig.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was easy just to organize everything. We just bought the balloons and spread it to the crowd. They told everyone that which song they should release it, and it was easy to organize. It was just an idea to pay our honors to Roy, and Roy was my best friend in the band, and he was the one who told, like, he was the one who kind of said, hey, Rodrigo is a cool guy, let's bring him, he can be with us. Roy was the first one who trusted me to be with them. So I wasn't that show in LA when the day Roy passed, and I was devastated, and it was one of the saddest day in my life. So I wanted to do something special for him and in his memory. So that's why we did it. We did it in kind of DMV Brazil did it. Well, by the time we had a crew working on the website, and it's pretty cool.
Oh man, that's awesome.
It was really emotional.
Yeah, I bet. Gosh. Do you have any favorite Roy stories that you can share?
Oh man, I have a lot of favorite stories. Unfortunately, almost every Roy story is unshareable.
Yeah, I love that though.
Yeah,
it's fine.
Yeah,
that's okay.
I think that says a lot already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got you.
Yeah, we miss him for sure. So we were definitely fortunate to be able to see him on stage a few times. So we definitely cherish those memories. And then we were at the first show that Jeff, the first 2 shows that Jeff took over in 2008.
That's cool.
Charlotte and Raleigh again.
We talk about it all the time. Like, they open with The Stone. The Stone's the first song they throw Jeff out on. Like,
oh my God.
I know, it's like, okay, you know, normally you say, oh, let's ease him in. No, they threw him on that, and then they threw a couple of others, and it's like, you're soloing as much as possible, so welcome.
Oh my God, that's cool too. But and the funny thing is that nowadays Jeff is my best friend in the band, so I'm friends with the
sax guys.
Yeah, the sax guy. Yeah,
yeah,
saxies.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Really cool stuff. So you interviewed Dave in 2012 as part of like the Away from the World promos.
Yes. My English was even worse by the time.
No, we went back and watched. No, it's still good. It's still good.
It was good.
It's bad as shit. I was watching it the other night and it's like, oh my God, it's so bad. But yeah.
I mean, that had to be pretty like wild for you to go from, you know, a fan to starting your website to doing photographs to then interviewing Dave in the studio about like a new album. I mean, that's like everybody's dream like scenario. What can you like walk us through that? And I mean, I don't know. We're just jealous.
I even didn't know that was going to happen. The interview, because I asked for the interview for DMV Brazil. I just sent an email to management, say, hey, can I interview Dave for DMV Brazil? And then it became that. That's basically it. You know what I mean? My idea was not to do like the big Away from the World interview, whatever. I just asked to do one simple interview for the website for DMV Brazil, and that's basically it. There's no, but yeah, for me it was it was huge, and I was not prepared at all to be that what they created with that. But my path with the band was different than most, because first became friends with them and then started working with them. So before working with them, I was already friends with David and all the other guys. So he already felt secure, and like he felt okay being around and being interviewed by me, and that's the trust thing that we talked earlier. So he trusted me already. He felt comfortable for me to interview him and to talk about, and we share a lot of same interests. Dave's a big music fan as well, so I talk a lot with David and Stefan about music, because we have some common ground of metal and rock and roll and all that stuff. Stefan is the metal guy. Yeah, Stefan is the metal guy. So I change a lot of music information with him.
Man, that's
Sweet.
awesome.
I've got one more follow-up and then I'll throw it to Bruce. But have they ever brought you into the studio to take like pictures of them like working on an album?
Yeah, no. Sad. That, well, I would love to, but never. The problem is, my biggest problem is that I don't live in the US, so I'm not always there. You know what I mean? And it's never happened. But one day.
One day.
Yeah, I'll text Dave in a little bit, tell him to get on that.
Please do.
We'll yeah. I mean, we're buds too. No, but you've had so many cool insights and everything, and just learning about how you got to be where you are, but now you're here. So tell us kind of a typical day when you go to the show and you're starting to shoot. Now I know that you have and I'm pretty sure you've had some photos that aren't just of the band on the stage. Sometimes maybe backstage, or Dave's riding a bike, or whatever, maybe a sound check. Maybe give us some insight to kind of how your day goes, when you are following them around, what time you get there, what you're normally, hey, can you come shoot this? Or are they like, Rodrigo, just do whatever you want, just shoot all this stuff and just do whatever you want?
Yeah, I can do whatever I want, but I have limits it's not limits that the band imposes me. It's not something that they will say, okay, Rodrigo, you can't stay. For example, rehearsal room. The band sets rehearsal rooms in almost every stop, every city. They can or cannot rehearse, but the rehearsal room is set for them if they want to rehearse. When they rehearse, it's one of the best times because it's so unique, and they usually stay there for, I don't know, 40 minutes, 30, 40 minutes. And if I wanted, I could stay in the rehearsal room for the 30, 40 minutes. But then again, I could do maybe 2 times it, and then I'll be out of the tour. You know what I mean? So I need to know my limits. So I need to go in and do whatever I need to do. For example, I want 10 good pictures of them rehearsing, just to document it. I'll go in, I'll do whatever I want to do. As soon as I have my results, and I'm sure that I have good photos, I'm out. There's nobody in the crew or in the band or whatever telling me how long should I stay inside, but I need to know that I have that specific time. And so basically there's no limits. The limits is the limits I impose. But my typical day is that I just usually, if I'm traveling with the crew, I go to the venue, with the crew, the time they are going there. So sometimes it's in the morning. Sometimes we wake up already at the next venue. So we travel during the night, go to the next venue, wake up at the next venue. So I don't know, 9 a.m. I'm awake. They are still getting the stage set up. So I just rest or work the pictures from the previous night. And the band usually arrives like 3, 4. And so when they arrive, I just have my camera all the time with me. And whatever happens, like that I feel that's important or relevant or different than the other days or something unique, I'm just need to be ready. And if that's a rehearsal or a sound check or whatever happens, sometimes I don't know, the other last tour, there was one day that Roshan and Jeff were throwing like baseball to one another, and that's something that does not happen every day. So you know, you don't know, you never know what will happen. And sometimes there's a guest in one show, and you can get the guest talking to Dave backstage, and that's a cool picture to have. And sometimes you're getting Dave talking to another guest, and there's someone on stage doing something even better, but you're missing because. And so sometimes you miss Dave doing a song on stage because I was shooting Tim playing with one hands, whatever, you know. So you just need to be aware and pay attention and know. Try to choose where you are and try to get the best shots.
Oh man, it's like trying to choose just the best kid or something. Like who do I go to? I don't know what to do. I mean, there's too many good choices. I mean, you threw two things out there that we were going to follow up on anyways. Rehearsal room sound checks, and I know you can't go into too much there, and we completely understand. And you can just say yes or no, but kind of, have there ever been any moments where you're like, wow, this is happening? If anybody else knew that this was going down, this right now, they would be freaking out on whether it's, DMV Brazil or Ants March, all the website, like whatever, the fans would just be like, whoa, but you're right there and you're like, yeah, I'm just going to take a couple pictures here. This is pretty cool. And I'll just sit in for a little bit longer than I planned.
No, but before working for the band, one of the first trips that I did, like 2004, 2005, I was at the venue and they brought me in as a guest, not working with them, so that I feel okay to share. And they put me, my wife, and a couple of friends seated in front of the stage, and the band was doing a sound check. And I think You Never Know was not played for like 2 years, and they start playing You Never Know like 4, 5, 6 times, one after another. And I was like, oh my God, we just saw like 5 times You Never Know here, and they were like here. And once again, I was not working for them by the time, and for me, I was like such a huge fan. For me, that was one moment that got stuck in my head, like working for them, sometimes I'm so focused on pictures, it's hard for me, even during the shows. Sometimes when they are playing a song that I like, for example, The Stone is one of my favorite songs, or even if they play a super hair song, then I usually stop shooting, because if I'm shooting, I don't pay attention to what they are doing. So if I really want to enjoy a song, and sometimes I give those 5-6 minutes for myself, I just stop shooting for one song and pay attention for a while, and enjoy the show for a little bit. Because most of the shows that I'm shooting up, I don't count as a show scene. You know what I mean? I don't count as I've been to that concert. I was just working.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. It's a cool.
I don't. Yeah. and I don't know if you've seen me shooting, and the fans that are at the rail can confirm that I sing the whole show with the camera. It's funny because, and I even don't realize that I'm doing it, but I'm all the time with the camera and singing, and like sometimes screaming with Dave and doing all that stuff, but while holding the camera. And a lot of fans that stay on the rail always like go on my shoulders, like, you're singing everything. It's like, yeah, I'm a big fan too. I'm enjoying here, but it's in the back of my head. I'm 100% focused on taking the pictures. I'm not paying attention to what I'm doing. I'm just singing because I love the songs too.
That is awesome. I feel like you're just like knocking out all of our questions here. So, I mean, great stuff, man.
So, kind of piggybacking off of that, you've been around now for Big Whiskey, Away from the World, Come Tomorrow, and then now hopefully, seemingly that they're releasing a new album, hopefully this year at some point. So how does that process go for you, on the social media side? Do you all of a sudden, a little bit beforehand, they're like, hey, we're releasing this album, let's name this, here's a picture or something like that we want you to promote. You kind of create off of that, or you just post it, or are they like, hey, here's such and such, maybe you create whatever, but you're obviously given a little bit of insight prior to everyone else on the album side. So how does the promotion for, a new album go? Let's say they release one in September of this year. What's it going to look like in the ramp up to the release of the album? Hey, Rodrigo, let's sell some albums here.
It varies a lot, and information is like, sometimes it comes much earlier, sometimes it comes like a week before. You never know. Sometimes I don't know my tour dates a week before I'm flying. So it
Wow.
really depends. It really depends. It's not something like, oh, okay, I know that if they release an album by the end of the year, by September I'll have all the information. It's not like that. It can be, but you never know. And once again, it's the same thing with anything on socials. I know what I have to do, and I just do whatever I think is the best and send for approval. And sometimes it passes, sometimes it not.
Got it.
And that's okay. That's how it works with everybody, I guess.
Oh yeah, no,
Sure.
Yeah, that sounds familiar. I'm sure
It's as boring as any other job, like on that matter. You know what I mean? It's like,
Mhm.
that's it. You just you do your best and then hope for the best, and it's approved or not.
I've got one more like venue photography type question. Since like, the setup and everything is pretty much the same going venue to venue, unless you're at like the Gorge or Red Rocks or, something crazy like Dream Wish List for DMV fans. Like, what's your point of attack at a show? Like, how do you change things up? Like when you're taking photos, because seemingly it's the same thing every night. When I'm filming basketball, I'm filming from the same spot and like filming highlights, and it's the variation in the highlights that make it interesting. Like, is it like, what is it for you?
For me, it's the emotions. Every night, the emotions are different. The energy that the band receives from the crowd and the energy that the band sends for the crowd is different every night, and it impacts in the emotions the band are feeling is feeling on stage. So every night there are those moments that I try to capture, and my focus on photography is not to capture. Well, when you are on tour every night, obviously you try to capture different angles, and just for them not to look the same. But my main objective is to capture the best emotions I can capture. So if I get that moment when Dave is having his best moment on stage, or whatever, sometimes it's just an eye, sometimes it's just like, and you can feel that he's feeling the music. That's the moment that I want to capture. So, and sometimes you spend like 3 hours shooting and you get one picture that shows it, and that picture is worth the whole thing. And sometimes you don't get any, but that's what I try to keep. I try to document that spark, that spark in the eye that rarely you can catch in a picture, and when you catch, it's the magic.
It's the best feeling.
No,
it's nothing like it.
So that's my goal every night, and that keeps me how can I say, ready for the next night, like that keeps me trying to get better and better and focused and to do my best work.
You've got one hell of a band to be able to follow, to do that and to find out, all of those emotions. So, what are some of your other favorite bands to photograph, or which ones have you photographed? I know you're a big metal guy. So I would assume that you've done some work for metal, and I've seen, your personal social media, and you post some photos from there. So what are some of the other bands that you enjoy going out and photographing? And do you, actually work for any of those as well?
I toured a bunch with bands. I love European metal, classic metal. So bands like Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, all that. I love all that shit. And I toured a bunch with two European metal bands. One is Epica, and that's pretty big here in Europe. And the other one is Blind Guardian, which as well is pretty big here. We did a bunch of Brazilian tours, and that they are super nice guys. And yeah, so those two bands are one of my favorite. Epica is really, really great. It's a great band on stage, and it's super easy to shoot. I've worked with Ben Harper before. I've worked with Gogol Bordello. Man, so many bands. Kiss is a great band to shoot always. So it's so much fun, and they like to get shot. You know what I mean? They just go in your front and pose for you. You know, it's a great band to be there. And so yeah, man, I have so much stuff. If you go to my website, and and living in Brazil, now I'm here in Lisbon, but living in Brazil has a big music scene of Brazilian music. It's Brazilian jazz music that's called choro or samba or whatever, but we have a big instrumental scene in Brazil of music, and I'm friends with all those musicians. A lot of them I even introduced into the band, and they ended up playing with the band, like Carlos Malta and Hamilton de Holanda. All those cats are my friends in Brazil that I kind of introduced to the band. Gabriel Grossi, the harmonica player. So all those guys are kind of legends back in Brazil, and they are like the top guys in our instrumental music scene. So I've been around those guys since forever and shot them a million times, and they're friends, and they're cool people too. So yeah, but I would love to go on tour with Iron Maiden or one of those bands that are my, like there's a band that I love that's called Halloween. It's a German metal band. They just released their new album now, and that's another band that I really, really would be happy to be on tour with. So it all depends. I've shot Halloween a bunch of times, but not working for them on tour, or yeah.
That's awesome. Just be able to expand your horizons and stuff like that. I mean, those guys, Hamilton de Holanda and Carlos. Oh my gosh, they're so good. Extremely talented. They've just surprised me every time.
They are amazing. And
did you introduce them to the band?
Yeah. Well, Jeff Coffin came to Brazil with the Flectones back in 2016, I think. Oh. And Jeff knows everybody as well, and he just, when they were there with the Flectones, they met all those cats. So they met Carlos, and they met Hamilton, and they met Gabriel, and Hermeto Pascoal. I don't know if you heard about Hermeto. Hermeto is like the godfather of Brazilian instrumental jazz music. So they met all those cats, and Jeff kept in touch with Carlos. And I just rebuilt the bridge between them after a few years. And just when they came back to Brazil in 2008, I put Carlos in contact with Jeff again and the band, and they just reunited. And Carlos played that with the balloons, with the Leroy tribute thing. Carlos played on that night as well. So starting by that night, it's kind of every time the band comes to Brazil, we kind of invite a musical guest, and sometimes they bring them to the US as well. But try to find Gabriel Grossi, the harmonica player. He's amazing. He's the same level of Carlos and Hamilton.
Will do. Yeah,
out of this world. He played with the band on the last time in Brazil in 2019. He played the São Paulo gig. There's a, what would you say, song with him, and it's out of this world.
We'll have to throw that in right there, Nolan. We'll have to throw in that music right there. So
there's on YouTube. You can find
cut that
YouTube.
harmonica solo in there.
Man, it's amazing. It's out of this world.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the big question is, when are we going to see you in person? When are you going to be back doing your gig at shows?
So if everything works out the way I plan and I hope, I'm getting vaccinated here in Lisbon on the 26th, now in June. And I already told my the management and the band that I would be, if it works out the way I'm planning, I would be free to go mid-August or by the beginning of August. So my best guess is that I'll be in by the end of August, beginning of September, I'll be on tour and I'll try to do the second leg of the tour. But once again, it's not up to me. They know I'm available starting that dates, and I hope they invited me. But it's if it was up to me, I would be there already. So it's not up to me, you know. So I'm just waiting for them to say, "Hey, Rodrigo, come," and yeah.
So we'll meet you at the gorge. We'll see
DMV
you there.
management, send them to the gorge.
Man,
we want to see him.
Oh yeah, I really want to. I told them that I would love to be at the gorge. So yeah.
What a reunion! That would be awesome.
That'd be epic.
That'll be
Speaking of epic, we're about to go through some epic rapid fire questions with Rodrigo really quickly. We're gonna just fire him at him and let's see what his answers are. He has no idea what we're about to ask. We'll start off. What is your favorite DMV album?
Before the Crowded Streets, for sure.
That is correct.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's an easy one.
Yeah. Favorite song?
Between Pig, The Stone, 41, and Crush.
Ooh, I mean, you can't go wrong either of those.
Those are great.
How about the and I know that you said you're kind of too focused, but you still may be able to parse one out here. What's the favorite concert that you have photographed?
It's hard, man. So many. I would say, man, Rock in Rio 2019 was pretty special because just to be on that, well, I'll say the two most important for me besides the first one, because the first ones was like, you know, like I was super excited, but the two most important for me was my first time shooting professionally at the Madison Square Garden was on the 2018 tour. They did 2 nights there and I was there. I was the photographer, and I have been to the Madison Square Garden before, but not working with the Dave Matthews Band. And it was like a big night for me. And Rock in Rio 2019, not only because of the show, but because of what it represents, just to be on the biggest stage, probably in the planet. Rock in Rio, I think, is the biggest festival in the planet right now. And so it's just to be on stage and with the band and with the days that we went, because once they are in Brazil, I'm kind of the guide, you know. So we're just there, my family, my wife and my daughter watched the show from the stage. My daughter was 4 years old or 3 years old. So it was the whole thing, you know. I was there and it's in my country and in the biggest stage in the world and shooting the band. It's pretty magical.
Wow. So I guess other than Rock in Rio, what do you have a favorite venue to photograph the band at?
That would be the classics, like the Gorge. I love Spec. I think the Gorge and Spec are my favorite. Alpine too, but if I had to like choose two, Spec and the Gorge. Spec is easier. Fans? Yeah, Spec is easier to shoot than the Gorge, and it's easier to get better shots. It's easy to different angles and different stuff, and it's just easier to be there. The Gorge is magical because it's the Gorge. But if I have to choose, okay, so which one you prefer to shoot? Spec. But each one you prefer to be at a show? The Gorge.
Like it. I like it. Turning it into 2 questions.
Yeah.
He's creating content for us. He's the content creator. He's the master. Is there one that you haven't been able to
Red Rocks
visit? Red Rocks. Perfect. Answer my question. Yeah. Next one, Nolan, go.
If there's any band listening to us, please hire me to shoot. I do it for free. I just want to go to Red Rocks and shoot somebody.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Oh, that'd be awesome.
You know? Yeah.
All right. This one's for the photog friends out there. Reagan Lund, Duke Athletics photographer. Shout out. You might want to listen to this part, buddy. What equipment do you use? Camera, lens? What are your go-tos?
Easy. 2 6Ds. One 6D with a 2470 2.8. The other one with 70 200 2.8 as well. And that's it. Sometimes I take so those cameras stay with those lenses all the time. I just work with 2 cameras all the time. 24/7, backstage or concert all the time. I don't change lens. If not, I lose the moment. So it's all the time with 2 lenses. Sometimes I even carry a third one with a wide angle lens, or sometimes I just carry it in my pockets and change it when I need to change. But it's like usually by the end of the show when I know that I have all the shots that I need, I just put the wide angle and get like full stage shots and full light shots. But usually that's by the end of the show, and I'm okay. I have all the shots that I want, and I can just just get the full band and all that stuff. Yeah, but basically is the 2 6Ds with those lenses. Nice. And that's all I need. They are not even a great cameras. It's just what I need. I don't need anything better than that.
Well, the stuff it produces looks great. So yeah. All right, Bruce, one more.
I've actually got a couple more, but one that I have is we have obviously seen a ton of pictures of you taking of the band cheersing the Jeff's Juice that he creates pre-show. Have you ever had Jeff's Juice, the smoothie?
Yes, I have. It's just a mix of every fruit he can find. And yeah, it's pretty good. It's energetic.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, favorite artist
That's
or band,
hilarious.
not DMB.
Rush.
Okay,
for sure.
Well,
Nice.
Neil
Who's
Peart.
better, Neil Peart or Carter?
Well, Carter's alive. Carter's the best one alive. That's it.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right.
But yeah, Rush the band that I most listened in my whole life, much more than DMB.
That's amazing.
Rush
that's
is
pretty
with
awesome.
me. Rush is with me since I was like a young teenager.
Yeah.
DMB, I was already like on my 20s, 20 something.
Mhm.
So Rush is with me for my whole life. I have DMB tattoos all over, but I have Rush too, and nice. I'm a huge fan. And after Rush, Zeppelin, Genesis. I love a bunch of old prog music as well. So all those 70s bands have a soft spot in my heart. Like
Wow.
Genesis, King Crimson, all those bands are. I'm a big fan.
You
your
got
favorite
throw
DMB
Dave some more
tattoo?
suggestions for some covers.
Oh, I do. I always tell them, for example, if I had to choose like a third band for like Rush, the DMB Rush are the top ones, and then the second one after them would be Jethro Tull. I love Jethro Tull. It's one of my all-time favorite bands, and I always tell Dave that I wanted a Jethro Tull cover, and Tim covers it. Tim on his trio format, he plays Aqualung.
Okay.
It's great. And I think it would be great for the band to play Aqualung or a Rush song. I always tell them, you should play Rush, man.
Maybe this year.
Yeah.
Maybe. What's your favorite DMB tattoo that you have?
I have a 41 in my leg. That it was my first one. Let me see. You see it?
Dave Pajama Pants.
Oh yeah.
There it is.
DMB 41. And my Baby Yoga socks.
Amazing.
I have those same socks, Baby Yoda
Really?
socks. Yes, I have those same socks. I got them from Disney. That's hilarious.
Yeah. So yeah.
Oh man. All right. Well, that's freaking awesome. I've got one more, Nolan, that I came up with, and this will lead us out of the interview and into the 2021 summer tour. If you had to choose one song, what are they going to open the tour with? Regardless of whether you think, or what would you like for them to really open up? Hey, this is what we're coming back with. Welcome back. We love you, fans.
Well, I think they will open with Don't Drink the Water or One Sweet World, but I wish they would open with Hello Again.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you have it. Rodrigo tells Dave, open with Hello Again. And I would thank him very, very much. If they do that in Raleigh, I will immediately be calling Rodrigo back on the Zoom call and be like, look, they're doing it. And then thank him for his generous work.
That would be awesome.
No, it's been a real pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us.
I hope you like it. Just
oh
boring.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we did, and we force all the fans to like it too. I mean, learn something from this guy. This guy has so much insight. He's had so many cool experiences. And you'll see him out on tour this year, and hopefully we'll be able to see him at the Gorge, and we'll cheer some Jeff juice with him.
Yeah, and please, if you see me, please say hello. Anyone that I'm really happy to meet fans, and so everybody who see me walking by, just please, you're not bothering. Just come and say hello. It's fun. It's always fun. And if you don't know my work, please follow me. My social media is on Instagram. I have 2 accounts. One is my personal account, but there's a lot of pictures over there too. It's Rodrigo DMV Brazil. And the other one is strictly professional pictures. That's Rodrigo Simas Photo. And you have my website as well. It's Rodrigo Simas Photo. Sorry, Rodrigo Simas .phot.br.
Check this man out and say hello when you see him. And we loved getting to hear your request on the Sirius XM.
Oh yeah,
Raven, that was awesome.
Raven.
Yeah. Good choice. That was epic.
Yeah. I was going to ask for the Stone, but he played in a previous episode of it. So
I would have done the same.
Yeah.
We had asked for You Never
there.
Know earlier in the year, and he didn't choose it, and then he chose someone else's You Never Know. Whoever that guy is, I'm coming for you. No, but thanks for joining us again. Thanks everybody for listening / watching. Obviously, this is up on YouTube as well. And we'll see you guys out on tour and next time on the corner of Gray Street.
Bye-bye.